Okay, we're gonna wait a few more moments, but we are now live on the YouTube. Gonna wait a little bit here. So a couple people are gonna be coming in from the Discord. We did say that we would start around 5 minutes ago. It's around, I guess, 6 at this point. It was around 5 when I clicked the button. So let's get our Discord ready. We're mainly gonna be talking about, well, we will look at gold and silver, not super extensively, but we'll mainly be looking at the cryptocurrency market here. First at Bitcoin, and then we'll look at the tools that we use to analyze the altcoin market with, and then we'll dive in right into the altcoins. And also, for anyone who does have any questions and are potentially going to be entering in the live or in the live now, you can ask questions and we will be going over them. As well as if you are watching the recording of this, or if you're watching the crypto market update video that we do provide on our YouTube, you can join these for our lives, and you can ask questions, ask certain pairs or certain alts to analyze, or whatever you kind of want, and then we'll be able to potentially help you out depending on the relevance within the video. All right, so let's get a recorder and get this thing going very shortly here. And let's open up BTC. Let's bring, trying to get this down there. And trend line, rectangle, and then the rest of the stuff there is kind of less important. Cool. Okay. And we'll start off with the daily here. Hey traders, welcome to a crypto market update. We will be going over gold and silver a little bit later in the video, but we'll be going over the crypto market first. And we do see that gold and silver are potentially moving to the upside as well. So there's some positive correlation that we do see between what we like to classify as kind of the anti-fiat, anti-currency proliferation, where both gold and silver as well as crypto are a fixed supply. Well, in crypto, you do have individuals who can change the supply, but with Bitcoin and decentralized projects as well as gold and silver, you can't, unless you're going out like mining an asteroid, you can't really just create gold and silver out of thin air, and you can't create Bitcoin out of thin air either. So that's why we're kind of pooling them in the same basket. So we are now at the daily chart of Bitcoin, a very key significant time frame that we like to look at very often, and we see that we got a candle that is trying to close above a very key level of resistance at around, let's say, 12K. It was maybe a little bit under 12K, but around $12,000 was both a key level of resistance on a technical standpoint, looking at the previous price action, but it was also a psychological zone because it's a round number. So we see that the candle has pushed above the zone, creating an impulsive move, and obviously this has been a breakout of a descending wedge. We've been talking about this many times before, and what we're looking for ideally is a pullback to validate this zone, although we do see many alts look really favorable for potential opportunities to sit alongside as well. Let's now break it into a smaller time frame. The weekly obviously still has not closed. We got around 6 days left, but we do see the new weekly candle still moving towards the upside. Overall, my sentiment is bullish. My overall direction and my analysis is going to be more bull bias because of Bitcoin moving to the upside. And then we see not similar assets, but the overall trend in the multi-asset analysis, in my opinion, does indicate that the dollar could be potentially either consolidating or weakening or kind of slowing down its descent, but it does not look like it's reversing just yet. So then a weakening dollar could be a stronger gold, silver, and crypto, and US dollar is a pretty significant thing to be looking at. So from the daily, let's now go to the 12-hour. We've already talked about the daily and the weekly, which is two large time frames that we like to look at. The 12-hour has not closed either, but we do see a very small consolidation. The price was not really doing much. We see a big doji there, and the price was really unable to break a series of a resistance high, so it was not able to break into a higher high, but it was also failing to break into a lower low. So this is a small consolidation after a breakout. So then what we're looking for is a validation of an impulsive push to break past a strong level of resistance, which is 12K, and ideally we're looking for a nice pullback to validate this previous resistance as a new level of support. That would be the perfect situation. So when we go to the 4 hour, we do see now the candle has closed, and we're now on the confirmation phase where we're looking for that pullback after the validation. The 4 hour to me is still a valid time frame. The 1 hour I'd be a little bit more weary on, but the 4 hour in my opinion is still a large time frame I can depend on for candle closures. So let's look at what we're able to identify on the 1 hour chart here. And we do see a light pullback. The zone I really want to be paying attention to is, like I said, around 12K. We see that there was quite a bit of hesitation right here with 2 1 hour or 2 hours, I guess, 2 1 hour candles hesitating to break above the 12.187 zone right around there. So that could be where we end off actually hitting, because that was the previous high of this wick. We might not make it all the way, and I do think that having a little bit of flexibility with a stop loss maybe below this massive bullish engulfing candle right there, that was a confirmation of a strong impulsive amount of capital coming in from the buyers, pushing the price up, taking out all the asks, thus increasing the price to take out or to receive more asks. Someone else is going to sell it if the price is higher. If there's more buyers, it's going to keep on going up, and that's exactly what we saw here. So strong impulsive push. We're looking for a pullback. Let's just make it easier for everyone. The 12.144, right around there. Obviously, it depends on your exchange that you use. I mainly use Binance, so that's going to be the area that I'm going to be looking at. But pay attention to the high that we had on August 9th as well as August 1st. August 1st and August 9th is the two highs that we're looking at for the potential retest for a level of resistance after this strong impulsive push to the upside, validating that the kind of balance is more weighted towards the buyers having higher confidence and higher conviction than the sellers. So with that in mind, let's quickly look at some of the tools that we use to analyze the crypto market. We see the total 2, which is moving to the upside, breaking this previous significant level of resistance at around 112 billion in market cap. We see the dominance move to the downside, breaking this key level of support. So the BTC Dominance is actually falling, which means that altcoins are moving and appreciating at a greater rate than Bitcoin. They're both appreciating against US dollar or other currencies, fiat currencies, but in terms of altcoins versus Bitcoin, altcoins are doing better in relation to Bitcoin right now on average. There are times when Bitcoin pumps and altcoins do not, and those are the times where you're happy that you have invested in Bitcoin. Different pools of capital, you can invest some, and then you have another pool to actually trade, and that would be 2 different investment pools and 2 different strategies where you wouldn't be selling as frequently in the investment pool, whereas you would be making more frequent transactions in the trading pool. So now quickly looking at Bitcoin volatility, has not done a whole lot really. It's just been consolidating, which kind of does not make sense because we did have a strong move to the upside. I guess it is moving to the upside, but we do see Bitcoin's volatility expanding quite aggressively to the upside, but we don't see the volatility come in yet. This is the 7-day. But yeah, that's a little bit odd. Just making sure that I don't have the replay on, because sometimes I'll go like that, and then if I have the replay on, it'll bring the price action. But yeah, that's a little bit odd. Let's do BVol. BVol. Let's do 24 hour. Now that is increasing, which makes sense, but it's not as aggressive as we saw, let's say, back in August 1st or August 1st was that huge meltdown right here, right? That huge move to the downside. That was the Bitcoin volatility going to the upside right there. So we're not that volatile in relation to where we've seen in the past. But I kind of like using the 7-day. Gives me a little bit of a longer perspective, a more macro perspective on the volatility of Bitcoin. All right, so I think we're going to get into the alts now. Also, if you are watching the live and would like to have an alt taken a look at, don't hesitate to drop a comment and we'll be happy to do that. But what we will do is we'll actually first look at the relative strength and weakness chart, which is going to be right here. And this is going to show us what coins are doing well and what coins are doing not so well. And at this point, we're not looking for shorts at all. We're only looking for longs because this is in our opinion, a bull run for crypto in general. Alts will do better when there is a bull run, but then when there's a bear market, they're going to fall more aggressive and they're not going to hold their value to the same point as, let's say, Bitcoin. Or I think for the next bear rally, later down the line, I think Ethereum will hold its value better than how it performed, let's say, in the previous bear market. All right, so let's now go through the two different relative strength analysis tools that we're going to be using. The first one is going to be comparing alts to Bitcoin. We can see this entire row right here is we're comparing everything to Bitcoin, and then to the right, we're comparing everything to USDT. So we're taking out kind of Bitcoin, and then we're just looking at alts, and then this is going to be comparing things to the US dollar. Now they're going to be different because, let's say, Bitcoin is obviously moving and more volatile than the US dollar. They're going to be showing different price kind of actions and different price movements. So in my opinion, it's good to be looking at both because Bitcoin is the standard of appreciation that you're trying to beat for an alt. If you're not beating Bitcoin in appreciation, you should be in Bitcoin because Bitcoin's, in the long term, it has proven to be a great source of an investment versus other alts. It's proven the test of time in crypto. In reality, if you're looking at more traditional assets, gold's been and silver's been a safe haven for thousands of years. You can count the number of thousands on your hand. That's how many thousands of years that it has been a store of value. Bitcoin does not have that sort of reputation, but it has a reputation of a decade and appreciating from basically absolutely nothing to over where we are right now. So it's a very, very significant market cap increase in a decade with no real CEO. No one knows who really created it, and it's an extremely revolutionary technology. So I think that market cap will be taken from the safe havens in the physical, bullion, gold and silver sector, and then crypto will take some of that market cap, which is a significant portion. It's like 8 trillion, I think it is, and then BTC's at like 260 billion. I don't exactly know what the numbers are at this point, but yeah, something around the lines of that. So let's look at the relative strength and weakness. So what we're going to be doing is mainly looking at smaller time frames. I'm not looking to zoom out all the way. We could really zoom out all the way and look back from basically, July, kind of throughout the summer here, and we can see Link has been really an outperformer from almost every single alt. We can see SXP, I believe. Yeah, SXP is up there as well, and this is compared to BTC. If we want to take a step really back, we can switch to the 4-hour on both and see which one's been performing better than really any other alt. We can see KNC has been performing 614% basically at the, let's do start of 2020. That makes it easier for everyone to understand. So then Link is at 500%, SXP is at 300%, KNC is at 435%. And then we can see against USDT, Link is up almost 900% from the start of 2020. Pretty unbelievable stuff. And we can see that the second highest is Theta, it looks like. Or it could be this green one here. Could also be Cardano. So we can see Link is by far the strongest in terms of relative strength compared to every single other alt within our list. And we can see the list here, right? Link, Tezos, SXP, BNB, XRP, Bitcoin Cash, Cardano, all this list right here. Link is doing by far better than any single one. So where should you be allocating potentially some capital if this is going to continue? Maybe Link may be an opportunity. If just thinking objectively, what's been doing well? Okay, well, let's look at strong trends, and if the trend continues, what's going to be doing and continuing to perform? Probably going to be links. So not saying it's an opportune time to be entering right now. Could be looking for a pullback. But if you are looking for potential exposure, I do think that allocating some capital may not be a bad situation to be in. So, although it did have a liquidity event where like it went to basically nothing because there was no liquidity on Binance, but you know, if you held, you still were totally fine. If you had a stop loss or a market order, you might have got wrecked a little bit. So, anyways, let's get back into it. Let's go to a smaller time frame because yes, we understand that Link is doing extremely well. We've been talking about that for a very long time, and then we can see when we do zoom into a smaller time frame like the 1 hour, you know, it gets a little bit different. SXP is up there, although it's extremely volatile, so you do have to be careful. Let's zoom in a little bit more here. This is going to be SXP, the yellow one. ALGO is up there as well, we can see. Link is looking like it's holding a nice level of support, creating a descending zone, potentially creating a squeeze within the structure, which is something that we do like to look for. And then we can see something that's compared to BTC is TRX actually. So we'll look at TRX here. I'll write that down because that's something we haven't really looked at. And then compared against with the USDT, it does look like it is moving to the upside as well. And then CHZ is my coin request if you have the time. Yeah, no problem. So CHZ and KTOM and RWS for KTOM, Lord of the Rings. So I'll write that down. If it's not Binance, I'm probably not going to look at it unless it's really easily identifiable on a different exchange. But I think what we'll do is actually do those first, and then we'll get into another potential pair. So let's do CHZ. Awesome, it's on Binance. So let's always start off with a large time frame. From the weekly, you can see it's very volatile, huge swings up and down, but we do see a very well-respected resistance right here. So we see a candle, or we see a wick closure, and a candle closure. Very, very bullish candle closure at that zone right there. And we can just identify that zone at around 0.02, let's say. So super bullish. I don't know what happened previously, but overall, the fact that we're now breaking above this zone is great to see. It'd be great to see candle closures above this zone. So we'll move into a different time frame. That's the main zone that we want to see the price hold. Oops. Going to the weekly, we can see a series of higher lows. So I think when we go to a smaller time frame, we'll see a potential ascending triangle formation here, which does look like we are having right now, which is awesome. So when I'm looking at this, just use Uniswap version. In terms of this, no, I'm happy with the current pair I'm looking at. And then go like this. So what I'm looking at, I'm just going to be drawing this here. We do see another wick right here. And then let's get our snip. So what we're going to be looking for, ideally, is a series of higher lows. We can see that right here. We're seeing this hold, which is great. And then we see this as the main level of resistance or zone of sensitivity right here. But we do see wick, and then we see resistance and resistance. So this is going to be our key level of resistance that we do need to see pass in order for this ascending triangle formation to actually break to the upside, where we see a resistance here, but the price is able to push and the bulls are able to keep the confidence to create higher lows. And then once it breaks a key level of resistance, you know, stop losses are taken out, confidence from the sellers is just completely exhausted, and then we get a move to the upside, where after the impulsive push, the initial impulsive push that we get to the upside, we're looking for that pullback, that market breadth, and ideally we're looking to see either a type A or type B candle closure. So we're looking for either a nice candle like this or a nice candle like this. And that would be the confirmation that this zone is validated as a new level of support. And that would be on the pullback after the impulsive push to the upside. And then we're looking for this or this as a candle confirmation, and that's going to be the completion of the pullback before our impulsive push to the upside. That's going to be option number 1 if you're looking at it from a continuation standpoint right there. So number 1 is this. And then I think going to be number 2 is going to be a failure for this, and then you're going to be looking for maybe something like this where you get a failure and then it breaks to the downside, and then you get something like this, and then you're looking for your confirmation where you get a move to the downside. You see a confluent zone where you see a descending zone and a horizontal zone. You're looking for that to break. You want that previous resistance to turn into a new level of support, and once you see that exact confirmation that I said before, you're looking for a nice move to the upside. You can look for stop entry as above the previous high. You can look for limit orders at the low, just to try to get an entry if it touches that zone before it moves to the upside. Whatever your structure and system is, that would be option number 2. So I'm not going to be looking for shorts or anything. That would be the 2 different structures that I'd be looking at, because sometimes you do see something like this where you see a failure of a higher high and you get a little bit of a pullback, and this is where you see these nice structures form before the strong impulsive push to the upside, because this is a nice small correction and it's very structured, it's very organized, and then you see a strong push to the upside, and you're looking for either, that's not very straight, but you're looking for a confluent zone, a small pullback to validate maybe like a previous low, and then it goes like that, and then you get a nice little pullback before the next impulsive push. And that would be something that I'd be looking for as well. So hopefully that answers your question for CHZ. Okay, I assume that this is the one that you're talking about. I do not love that, to be completely honest. I personally do not think I'd ever trade this. There's just not enough volume. The spreads are probably massive. You know, just if you're really looking at it simply, you got a key level of support around $90. You got a key level of resistance at around 155, and then your bottom's at 46. You got a minor level of support right now at around 124. It does look like you are squeezing to some degree, but I don't really trust the price action here. And then I guess what you could be looking for is a break of a squeeze, and once it starts trading above this high right here, you'd be looking for a possible retest to validate this zone as a new level of support. Something like that, and then you'd be looking for either longs here, you could be looking for longs here if you're a little bit more aggressive. But just using this price action, that's what I would come to the conclusion with, but it's not great. I personally would never trade something that has this sort of price action. RWS, all right. I'm not sure what you mean. I don't think there is a RWS here. Okay, so those are going to be the cryptocurrencies that we're going to be looking at for the comments. Also, if there are any questions or alts that someone would like to look at a later point, we will cover them. That's not a problem, but just wanted to cover those before we get into it. And then I think what we will look at right now is actually TRX. So TRX USDT. This gives us a long time frame and a lot of price action to go off of. So I'm going to get a little bit of water, and then we'll jump right into Tron. All right, so let's first understand this structure. I see a potential bottoming pattern. Now, we haven't even completed the actual formation for this double bottom. We see the nice bottom at around, let's say, 0.011, and then we see that breakout zone where we're really going to see a strong push to the upside. If we see it aggressively push above, is going to be around, let's say, 0.04. This previous high, and that will create the nice bottoming structure. And we already see it breaking out from the, I guess, minor bottom right here. So within structures, there are smaller structures that look like them. They're called fractals. And what we can see right here is this is a bottom within a smaller bottom. So let's get our brush. This is a large bottom, right? But then we can also see this is a minor bottom. So the target is going to be right here. And then once it hits this zone, now we're in potential to complete the larger bottom. So it looks like it's really in a strong bullish push. We see this zone as a previous high, which we do have to consider. That was the candle closure, it looks like right here. So that's going to be something to keep into consideration when we do go into a smaller time frame. If there is a pullback, I don't think there will be. This zone is going to be a major zone of support, so we will be looking at that area for potential entries if we do see it go to that zone, because I do think that's going to be a major level of a potential buy, and then stop losses will be right here, and then you're still looking for that final target of around 0.039, let's say. So that's the larger time frame zone. I know that it may take a while. It's accelerating, so that's great to see, and I will just put this in green because that's going to be the main level of support. And then I'm going to put my minor zone just in white right here, just to show me and to give me a little bit of context as to where I am in relation to the main zone, and then a minor zone that we saw get hit right here. And then I will just kind of break it up and then look for other zones that could potentially be levels of either support or resistance as well. So we see this is a key zone of support turned into resistance, and this one as well. Okay, so now I'm going to go into a smaller time frame. We see that it's accelerating, so we're going to be looking for continuation patterns, mainly triangles and wedges. So let's go to the 6-hour chart. We see a very strong, well-structured trend to the upside. We see a nice channel with a series of higher lows, break, retest, break, and then now we're just kind of halting a little bit, taking a little bit of a market breath. Still creating very, very nice structure. We see this zone get tested for a resistance. We see not perfectly, but this area we tested, moved to the upside, retest this resistance for a new level of support, and it looks like we are still kind of trending to the upside here. So let's continue the overall analysis. I'm just looking to see if we can find a potential ascending zone that it broke. Kind of looks like it broke an ascending trend line here, and that could be a wedge that's going to be melting to the upside. So we see candle closure, wick, or I say at the candle closure, move it a little bit higher, and we're going to go like this. For the projection, we can go to the 30-minute chart. And then we'll go here. Don't need it that far. And there we go. And then we have, let's just go to a different time frame to see what we're able to identify here. We got a bit of a large zone here. So that's going to be it on the 4-hour. Let's see it on the 1 hour where that lies. That makes sense. Support resistance. And that makes sense on the 30-minute as well. So I think that's going to be where my potential area is going to be. So right there is going to be a very strong level of confluence. So let's just make that very green. Right around where we are right now. Right, and then this is, let's go back to the 30-minute chart. And then take our picture. So we got our first rejection, 2, 3, 4, but I just value that as 3. And then we got a little bit of noise here where we broke above, retested, and held this zone, but it got a little bit noisy here. And then we made a higher high. So we made a higher high from this zone, and I'm expecting this to be a higher low from this higher low. So then the momentum is going to continue towards the upside here. And that's what I'm trying to construct in terms of the structure for the price action. Is the price broke, retested this zone, previous resistance, new level of support, in confluence with this zone. That was not really a precise trend line, but you get what I mean. And that's going to be a key level of demand. You got a strong impulsive push, which is a higher high than this. And it looks like it broke this key level of resistance. Although it is a zone, it's not going to be an exact price point on a chart, so we do have to keep that into consideration. But this could be a higher low for the next move to the upside. That's, in my opinion, what it looks like for Tron, if we are looking like we're trying to continue the trend, because it does look like it's accelerating in the momentum upwards. Like initially, we saw this kind of slow, methodical move up, and then you see this huge impulsive push right there on the even 30-minute chart. No red candle for a pullback, not even a single one, right? Very, very strong. Oh, I think I did something there. No, so let's just go back. And then you see this, which is not precise, not perfect, but I kind of see it like that. And yet again, you see a massive impulsive push, right? So you're getting these consolidations, and then you're getting these strong, aggressive buyers to come in the market. And you're not really getting that many sellers. And we already looked at Bitcoin looking, pretty favorable for the longs or for the buyers. So in terms of alts, this is a fairly, relatively strong alts in recent price action, which is good. It has already created a higher high, so that's really good. That's another positive, right? Let's even look at the volume. We haven't even touched on the volume yet. Let's look at indicators. So this is another illustration of the aggressiveness of the buyers and the kind of comparison versus buyers and sellers, right? The pushes to the upside, look how much buy volume is presented when you see that, right? Look how much buy volume is there versus the sell-offs, right? This is, I guess, somewhat of a considerable sell-off. You see this as a somewhat considerable sell-off, not in price action, but in volume. You see sell-off right here, not receive that much volume. Just that was not really poorly drawn, but let's just go and draw that again, right? Not very aggressive in terms of volume, and you're getting lots of buy volume. So in terms of volume, it's also positive, right, towards the buy side. So in my opinion, yeah, that's going to be a potential higher, a higher low that we could see resistance, support, resistance. It's a little bit of noise here, but we not only have the support of this horizontal zone, but we also see this support zone and also see this support zone, all creating additional support for around the 0.029 range for TRX compared to USDT. All right, I'm going to get a little bit of water here, and then let's continue on. So, Silly says, opinion on Ripple. Yeah, we can look at Ripple right now. He also says, but I don't know, I don't like buying at highs. So we're not necessarily buying exactly, it's not like saying I'm going to break at the high of day or high of, the year or month or whatever. We're looking at price action structures towards the upside. Now, ideally, I do like to see, let's just get this, and let's just take a look at that. Ideally, when we are on an uptrend, within the pullbacks, I ideally would like to see something like a descending, was not really a wedge, a descending wedge, or a descending triangle, or an ascending triangle, right? This as well, right? These sort of structures I like to see within the pullbacks, or you could get like something like this, where it's like a hesitation and a little bit of like an equilibrium for the buyers and sellers. There's a little bit of low volume, and then the momentum continues again. And that would be something like this, right? Where you see a huge move up, and then you see like a slow momentum build that pushes the price higher and higher towards a key level of resistance, and then you get an explosion because it blew the roof off the ceiling, right? So that's my ideal situation. But let's say you get something like this. You can find situations like that, where that's going to be the wedge, where you get a move down and a move up and a move down and move up, where you're still getting these higher lows, but it's a melt up, and then that continues the trend, right? And that's going to be at a point where the trend is accelerating. And we have these accelerating points in a trend where the trend kind of goes like this, gets a big move up, goes like this, and it starts accelerating, right? And that's going to be the point where we're looking for these ascending zones. And then ideally here is going to be something like this, like a descending zone. And then once the trend continues, it can be an ascending zone or it can be an ascending wedge, which will get you before the massive move, ideally. And you see these fairly often in crypto. So to answer your question, it's not really buying at the highs. You're looking to continue the trend. And yes, you are buying at a somewhat relative high. But there's only one way to carry a trend, right? Like if you see it go and you have a high conviction that it's going to continue, how are you going to enter, right? You look for pullbacks. This is a pullback. We look for pullbacks as well. But unless you're able to enter from, let's say, down here, or even somewhere, this would theoretically be a high, right? It's only relative to the price action you've seen. If it goes higher, it's suddenly not a high, right? It's a lower high because you created a higher high. So I personally like to follow the trend. There's a lot of data and a lot of information and a lot of studies found that trend trading does work. It's, in my opinion, a more dependable system than only looking for reversals. I find that very difficult and less dependable than looking for continuation patterns towards the momentum and the trend of not just that particular asset or that pair, but also looking at your multi-asset analysis, looking at your other risk on more traditional assets. What are they doing? What's volatility doing? What's the main asset within the asset class doing, i.e. Bitcoin? What's the Bitcoin volatility doing? Looking at different time frames, all that stuff we do consider before just assuming that an alt may be going up and down. We also do our relative strength analysis as well. So there's a lot of things that go into not just this particular price action structure, but also everything surrounding it. There's more to it than just one single data set to look at when you are trading in the markets, in my personal opinion. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of information on that. So now let's go to a different time frame. Yeah, it makes sense. So you think buying China at the moment would not be a bad decision? Yeah, I agree. It would not be a bad decision. I agree with your statement. So let's look at some other stuff here. We are going to look at XRP, which is this one right here, which looks pretty strong. So this is a descending wedge. We can see on a 4-hour time frame. Was forming an ascending triangle within the breakout of the descending wedge. Unfortunately did not break out. But what I like to do is take a look back, because this 30-cent range is such a major zone for the price. And let's go all the way to the weekly here. Yes, we do see it was, just in terms of a smaller time frame, it looks absolutely phenomenal, right? We have a nice, very strong push to the upside after breaking this high. So let's go right here. After this high, we just had an accelerating move to the upside. The market needed to take a breath, and it looks like the market is now completed its breath at a major significant level around 30 cents. And it looks like we've now created our impulsive push, breaking out of this consolidation, which was the potential breakout for this descending wedge. And this is the confirmation. So now XRP is in a breakout. You're looking for pullbacks on key levels of significance to continue the trend to the upside. And let's just quickly look at the minimum target for this particular pattern, just looking at geometry. So that's going to be around 0.34. Okay, so I just like to indicate that. And then I like to go like this. So why is 30 cent such an important level? We can see on the weekly chart, very, very strong level of support, picking up the price multiple times. Once we broke past it, rejection, another major rejection around early to mid-February. And then we got that massive sell-off. And then we came back, held right below that zone, created that nice descending triangle, or descending wedge, creating squeeze within the structure, and then it does look like we are creating an impulsive push to finally break above this major 30-cent level. So XRP also does look like it's in a pretty good situation. Potential levels, if it does carry away from us for levels of a pullback, would be around 0.323. So we'll make that a little bit larger, right around there. And that's that high that we saw back in around August 1st, August 2nd, when Bitcoin fell a little bit there. So that's going to be the first potential pullback that we'd be looking at if it does pass this zone. But ideally, we do see another zone right around here that if it does pull back at, would be a really good opportunity and would provide a better risk reward right around there, 0.30, right? And just let's play it out. If it does pull back and hold that zone for a nice new level of support, you'd be looking for a recent low, maybe right around there. And then ideally, you're looking for a minimum of 2 to 1. So you'd be looking for maybe somewhere around there, depending on how much you want to risk. And then you could be using, for letting the trade run, you could be using trailing stop losses, moving averages, and just manually moving it up. You could just be doing simple structured for support and resistance. You could also be doing other things like parabolic SARs. You could be doing a bunch of different stuff, right? You could just be setting targets at predetermined locations on a daily or 6-hour time frame, a larger time frame. But in terms of direction, I do think XRP does look like it's moving to the upside, and it's going to continue here. You see strong price action, aggressively push the price up. Let's go to the volume. Volume should be very, very bullish, which it does look like it is. Great to see. So then within the move up, we see more buy volume than sell volume. And then on the pullbacks, we see less sell volume than the initial impulse pushes of buy volume to the upside that broke the price out of this structure. And then obviously now we see a huge shift in what we initially had in the equilibrium between the buyers and sellers, where the buyers are really taking over and gaining confidence from the sellers. So I think breaking the 32.47-ish range would really push the price higher for XRP, although a validation would be great to see for a potential entry if we are looking for a retest of that zone. Although right now, because we haven't seen that break, the initial entry would ideally be here. And then if we get a validation of that zone, and then a retest, we'd be looking for that zone for a potential zone for an entrance. So that's going to be XRP, looking pretty favorable. Let's go to a 4-hour chart and then stick it right there. Not really going to be looking at... let's look at band. Why not? ALGO's done decent as well, so let's look at that. And then we'll take a look at Ethereum and BNB. After that. Okay, so let's just take everything off. Because Band has been doing very well recently. It's been, look at that. Like, my gosh. So we don't really have a lot to work with, so we'll stick to like the 4-hour and kind of smaller time frames because we don't really have a whole lot to kind of look at going back. So we got a nice support here. Let's just draw some key horizontal zones. This is going to be a main key horizontal zone right around there, around 11.8. And then we see this major level of demand, or sorry, supply at around 15.30. Wow, that's a huge zone. 23% zone. Silly says, what's your favorite altcoin at the moment? I would say Ethereum. We do see a break if we are connecting that zone. This is a valid zone because we see 1, 2, 3 rejections, creating a series of higher lows, and we can make that green. So that is a break of a move to the downside, which in my opinion, you should not be looking short at all. Like, yes, theoretically, if you were looking short, that and then plus a confirmation of a breaking trend right there, but at this point, we should never really be looking for shorts, especially because we see a lot of alts do very well. We should only really be looking for longs. So I'm going to take this off and just stick with the major zones. So I'm now going to be looking at this potential zone, and then what we could do is just draw it like that, right? So then instead of having this zone here, you could have 1, 2, and then if you're able to get the third touch right there, you have your 1, you have your 2, and then you have your 3. And that, to me, is enough validity to use that within a potential structure for an ascending triangle formation. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rejections of a key level of resistance. So you don't really need more than that. That's a very strong level of resistance that you'd be looking for. So then ideally, that would be the type of structure zooming out that you would see. Is a huge impulsive push, a pullback, and then you continue the acceleration upwards. That is the type of price action that you're looking to see occur. So right now, we're just looking for a little bit further move to the downside before we get our second higher low, potentially holding these horizontal levels of significance to create a higher low from this low and this low, to then create our ascending triangle formation, and then we can continue the trend upwards. That would be really great to see. All right, so next thing we're going to be looking at is ALGO, and then we'll go to BNB as well as Ethereum. I don't love, let's just always go back to the large time frame. Let's look at the weekly. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, so we're like barely out of the ditches here on this pair. So that's going to be the key zone that we needed to break out of. And we're just broken out of it. And then the next zone is still pretty high up here. So, like we can see, right, symmetrical triangle, breakout, retest of a previous high, and then a massive impulsive push to the upside. We know that this is a strong level of demand, or a potential strong level of demand, so we do have to keep that into consideration. So we're not looking for shorts, we're only looking for longs. And we also see a potential squeeze occurring something like this. We see candle closure, and then you want to connect the wick and then the candle closure like so. And let's get our projection, which is right here. Oops. Okay. And this could be the support that could hold, but what we could also see is just something like this, is a descending wedge formation. And then it might just be a nice slow fall towards the nice level of demand. And then once the buyers start to come in, we're going to get a strong impulsive push to break out of this constricting price action structure, I guess, or contracting, or not really constricting, it's contracting. So ideally, what we would be looking for is something along the lines of that, right? Strong impulsive pushes, and then retesting key levels of resistance and support. And then we're looking to enter at those pullbacks, right? After the confirmation of an impulsive push. We don't want to enter here because it could just go like that. We don't know. We want to be confirmed that there's actual buyers entering, and the only way we can get that confirmation is if the price goes up. So that's going to be ALGO. We'll see where that goes from there, but at this point in time, I don't really see something that I'd want to trade just yet. I want to see a little bit more of an impulsive push before we look to get some exposure on that particular pair. And then now let's look at Ethereum as well as BNB. I think we'll actually just look at Ethereum. I think not a lot of people are interested in BNB as much. I personally really like it, but that doesn't mean everyone does, obviously. It's not looking bad. I personally still think it's underneath that zone, so I'd want to be a little bit cautious. Let's just take this off. Okay, so let's look at Ethereum and then go to a weekly chart. So we know that the around 300 and a little bit zone, right around there, 300, let's say 20 to, let's say, you know, somewhere around there, 300 zone, let's say, was the key level of the roof for this consolidation, right? We never really broke out of this zone. And we finally got out of this zone, and we haven't really seen a red week since. So we're in a bullish push to the upside. Let's just look for other major zones. Even on the monthly, we can identify that. That candle closure is a very significant zone, so we want to identify that. And then when we go to the daily, that's going to be a pretty major zone as well, right around there. And let's just make that into a little bit of a zone instead of a perfect area within a chart. A lot of... I'm happy with that zone, happy with that zone. Let's do that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, cool. And then I just want to indicate where that main level was. Right there. And that's going to be my green. Cool. All right. So we had a nice squeeze right here, which we notified our Performante members of, like so. And then we said 400 was the price to look for, or looked, that $400 zone was the place to look to enter when the price passed it. So anything above that zone, we said definitely look to enter because this is a very well-respected structured squeeze and a very strong push to the upside. So if you haven't, let's look for continuation patterns if you haven't already entered. This is just for the people who have either are not on Performante Premium service that we do provide, or just aren't really actively trading in the markets, because this, in my opinion, was a pretty obvious opportunity for a long if it broke that particular zone. So we're going to be looking for retests now. So let's go here. It's going to be right here. Very well respected. I would say if you haven't entered Ethereum now, it's not a bad time to enter. Like right now. Not financial advice, but this is a random person from the internet just saying his own opinion. I would say that Ethereum right now looks like a really good opportunity. But that's just my personal opinion. It's not a fact. And then that next zone's, let's say 500. And then do we even have a zone above that we have marked? No, we do not. I would say around 550 is a very psychological zone, and then the next one's going to be 600, but I might do like 610 just because that high is very significant right there. You get candle closure, wick closure, so I'm going to be happy with that zone. You want to be somewhat even in terms of the zones, something like that. So around $500 is the next zone that we would be looking at for a potential target. So then this would be something along the lines of that, right? And then you're able to really extend if it goes beyond. Another $50 per ether would be an over 8 risk reward, which is really solid. So that's going to be the opportunity that I would be entering in if I was to give you one for the day, in my opinion. If it had a gun to my head and you say I have to pick one trade to go in, this would be the trade to go in. All right, so that's going to be Ethereum. Let's now go to Link, and then I think that's going to be the end of the video because Link has been doing unbelievable So let's open this up here. We talked about it yesterday, how this strong level of support at around $16, and we wanted to see a nice squeeze. And what did we get? We saw a nice squeeze, impulsive push to the upside. What do you think is happening next, right? Very, very simple structure every single time. You could be looking for break of high right there. You're looking for a stop entry there. You could be looking for a stop entry at the break of the resistance zone. So right there, you know, you could be looking for those types of structures as well. And the next zone would be somewhere around the 1980 zone for that potential entry for the next move to the upside. So Link's looking awesome. On the daily chart, obviously this is we're basically at an all-time high, so there's nothing really to go off of. There's no point zooming out really. We're just making sure that, well, other than looking at the candle closures, that's very important, like looking at the weekly candle closures, but there's just a new week that has been, we're in, so it doesn't really matter too much. The daily is important, strong impulsive candle. Not a crazy morning star wick or anything, so that's really good to see. And then we do see a little bit of a morning star, kind of a wick to the upside there, but you know, we have seen them in prior price action, and we've seen it really not take too much hold, but it did hold that previous wick high there. So it's still holding structure, and that's the main thing I want to see. So overall, I think Link's looking still really solid, and I do think just because the price has gone up a lot recently doesn't mean that it can't go up more. I think there's a higher probability. If you see an alt absolutely collapse, I would never want to dip by a massive capitulation just because I don't know how far it's going to go down. I could manage risk, but I don't love it. I like looking for contracting price action where I can really, really manage risk before the expansive impulse move that is going to be giving my price and giving the risk reward, you know, 2, 3, 5 instead of the, I don't know what scalpers really get, but I don't really love doing that. So anyways, that's going to be the video for today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have any questions and were unable to come in for the live, drop them in the comment section below, and we'll be taking a look at them. We'll be answering them if they are relevant. Hopefully you enjoyed it. You got some information, you got some education, or just entertainment. If you found this, you know, any one of those things, it'd be great if you would give it a like. It does show appreciation and lets us know that we should continue to make more of these types of videos. So hopefully you had a good weekend, and hopefully you have a good trading week. Until next time, have a good one.